Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Sin City Living. This episode of Crossfire is going to be more so of a free fire type of Crossfire, where we just ramble on about casino stuff.
Yep.
I'm Louis. This is
I'm Jason.
And
welcome. So we're just going to kind of freeform, just talk. A couple of dealers sitting around talking. Just things we've seen or things we've heard, maybe questions that we've had asked of us. One of the more common questions that I get asked all the time is, what's the best game to play in a casino? And there's multiple answers to that, depending on what you want to do. Like, for instance, craps. Craps is the fastest game for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You can win a lot of money in craps very quickly. You can also lose a lot of money very, 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 very quickly. Blackjack. It's just a fairly standard, steady game. You can also win a lot of money there, but you have to risk a lot of money. You play $1,000 hands, you're going to win thousands of dollars, or you're going to lose thousands of dollars. So it depends on what you're looking for. But if you're looking for, say, best odds in a casino, again, you get to multiple answers on that one. For instance, the odds bet on a craps table that has no house edge is the only bet I can think of in a casino that has no house edge. However, you do have to have your come bet or your flat line bet in order to take advantage of the odds, and it depends on which casino you're at as far as whether or not the odds are worth it. 10 times odds, 20 times odds, 3, 4, 5 odds, double odds,
100 times odds,
100 times odds, like the Cromwell.
Yeah.
Which can get some very interesting action. I have a friend who works there that has told some stories of people coming in, pulling a $300,000 marker, and then doing $50 put bets with 5,000 odds on every single number.
Now, I heard that I had a buddy, he works at the Cromwell. He says that their 100 times odds were to a certain extent. They had a max, actually, on how much they can bet.
Well, the table max, I'm guessing.
I think that's what it was.
Because I believe...
I think it was 5 or 10,000 or something like that.
I believe it's 5,000, because what she was telling us was this guy was doing $50 flat, $50 put bets with 5,000 odds on all the numbers. So that leads me to believe that that 5,000 is probably the max, the table max. So this guy was doing that on 6 numbers. So he had $30,000. He had $33,000 on the table, or no, $30,300 on the table.
So much money.
Every single roll. Every single roll, he just, if there was a 7 out, as soon as the next point was established, he would put numbers for $50 and 5,000 odds.
Jeez.
But outside of the odds on a craps table, what else has the best odds? Then it gets kind of interesting. I mean, blackjack, if you're taking advantage of if you're at a table that allows surrender, which is why most of the houses don't allow surrender anymore, it comes really, really close to being 50-50, or even slightly favoring the player if you play it to mathematical perfection. I have read some mathematicians that talk about if there's a surrender option on the table, that it gives a 0.25% advantage to the player. Now, what that means, that 0.25% means that for every $100 that you risked, if you were having an average bet of $100, that you would, on average, win 25 cents an hour. So it's not exactly your great money-making scheme, and that also depends on how the mathematician is calculating it out. But when you get away from that, I tend to think that possibly roulette, red and black, comes really close to 50-50. The only outliers are the 2 zeros, the 0 and the double 0. Right. I don't deal any of the other games. Louis can talk about Bach.
Yeah. Baccarat, I would think Baccarat actually has the most, I'd say, level playing field, banker and player. They're so even that there's a slight edge towards the banker, that they charge you a 5% commission per win, but for the most part it's even money on both bets. You got about a 50-50 or a tie. A little over 50 for the banker, of course. But I've dealt pretty decent sized hands on that game. I've heard stories of pretty decent sized hands on that game, and it's like you were saying, depending on what you want to play. I'd say if you're looking for like the best odds, I would tend to lean more towards baccarat and craps. But baccarat is just so boring. Craps, on the other hand, so fun. So fun.
Craps is just so fast. It's so fast. There's so many things going on. It's around a craps table that you hear most of the cheering and yelling and clapping and things that make dealers want to stick ice picks in their ears. But it's because it's such a high energy game and it just goes so fast. But that also means that this right here can go so fast.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially if you play the way I tend to play.
Yeah.
I want to leave with all the chips and none of the chips, and 99.9% of the time it's none of the chips. But yes, craps, it's an exciting game. It's moving, it's fast, it's fun. Baccarat is sitting there waiting for 2 or 3 minutes for every coin flip, because that's basically what it is. At least... Exactly. That's pretty much what you're betting on baccarat. With at least with red and black on roulette, which I also find about as boring as watching paint dry. At least there, you've got a wheel that's spinning, a ball that's moving. You've got some motion on the table. If nothing else, we're visual people, so if nothing else, motion helps. Plus, if you want to bet other stuff, you can bet other stuff with baccarat.
Right.
You pretty much bet that coin flip. Yeah, you can bet on the tie and some other things too, right?
Yeah, they have the dragon bonus, and then they have the panda bonus and all that stuff. It's man, that stuff is just, it's a side bet. There's not much going on. Now, one game I really enjoy playing is Pai Gow.
That's the one I was just about to talk about. That is the game if you want to drink and you want to play for a while on a low amount of money, or on a mid amount of money and play for a while.
Need a lot of pushes.
Because there are a lot of pushes, absolutely. Pai Gow is an interesting game because it's you get 7 cards, and you have to make 2 hands. Top hand has 2 cards, bottom hand has the remaining 5, and I believe the top hand has to be your second best hand.
Yes.
Top hand your 2-card hand has to be your second best hand. The best hand has to be the 5-card.
Well,
hand.
actually, no. It depends, because if you're playing face up Pai Gow, on the other hand, then depending on what the dealer has on their first hand
is what you have.
Yeah.
There are rules to Pai Gow, and the dealers will help you out up to a point. I believe face up, the dealers may not be allowed to help you out, but outside of that, because if you set your hand up wrong, it can be a void. It can be a voided hand.
Then you lose.
And you lose. But with Pai Gow, in order to win, you have to win both. You have your top hand. Your 2-card hand has to beat their 2-card hand, and your 5-card hand has to beat their 5-card hand. In order to lose, their 2-card hand has to beat your 2-card hand, and their 5-card hand has to beat your 5-card hand. So, if your top hand wins but your bottom hand loses, it's a push. You lost nothing.
Vice versa.
So you have to lose both hands to actually lose your money. So there's a lot of pushes, which is why you can play that game for a long time and just suck down free drinks all night.
That progressive will get you, though.
Yes, the progressive is where the money really is, and that's it's a $1 minimum. But if you're going to play the progressive, play the $5 one that gets the player envy, which means that if one of the bigger jackpots is hit by any player, that anybody who has done the $5 progressive gets a small portion cut. For instance, the 5 aces one. If someone gets 5 aces and you did your $5 bonus bet, I believe you'll get like $2,000 or something out of it, depending on the house also and how they have it set up. But Pai Gow is also a fun game. It is. It's a lot of fun. I just learned how to play it last year. My wife deals it, so she taught me how to play it. One day I'll teach her how to play dice, maybe. And it was a lot of fun. We just sat around. We played it for probably 5 hours on a couple $100, and that's for 2 of us.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of pushes. And if we weren't playing the side pot, we probably could have played even longer. The side pot's where we lost $10 between the 2 of us. A lot. We very, very, very rarely won the side pot.
I like to play Ultimate Texas. 3-card poker is pretty good too, but Ultimate Texas is probably one of my favorite games to play.
Pretty much all the poker variants.
Yeah.
Ultimate Texas, Deuces Wild.
They had this game called Wild 5 that I dealt for a little bit, and it was so awkward, this Wild 5 poker. It was like Texas, but the opposite. So you would get 5 cards or something like that. I haven't dealt this game in probably about a year and a half, maybe close to 2 years. But so awkward. It's instead of getting you have your 2 cards over here on Texas Hold'em and then the 5 cards up here. It was opposite. You get 5 cards, you get 2 cards. It was real awkward. I dealt this game for a little bit, but it was very weird. Never really, and I never played it.
Another interesting poker variant. Dealers hate this one, by the way. If you play this game, please tip your dealers, because dealers absolutely hate this game. It's called Let It Ride Poker. It's a fun one. That's another one where you can actually play with a long time on a very low amount of money, because while your initial outlay, your initial bet is probably $15 to $20, by the end of it, if you have a bad hand, by the end of it, you've only lost $5. And it's kind of a grinder game in that I've played it many times where I played it for hours and hours and hours, because I'd lose. For every 10 hands I'd lost, I'd win probably 8 hands worth of it back on the one hand I won. But you get your 2 cards. Dealer has their 2 cards. And then there's the 3 face-up cards. So it's a 5-card poker hand, plain and simple. And they'll turn the cards over one at a time. You'll set up 3 bets, and then they have the bonus bet, which is why I said 15 or 20. The 3 main bets that you have to bet, $5 each. And then they'll turn the first card over. And you can either stay, which means that you just stop, you leave all your bets out, or if you don't like the card, you don't like what you've got in your hand, you can pull one of your bets back. So now you've only got $10. Then they flip the second card over. If you like what you see now with 4 cards, you can stay, or you can pull your second bet back. Now you've only got that $5 bet. Now you have to stay. That $5 bet pretty much stuck. And then they'll flip the last card over, and your 5-card hand just has to beat the dealer's 5-card hand. They'll have 2 plus those 3. You'll have 2 plus those 3. It's kind of a grinder game. Dealers don't like it because it's just that. It's a grinder game. It's a very slow, mind-numbingly boring game to deal. There's no action. There is just flipping cards.
Could you imagine going to deal Let It Ride? You got 500, 500, 500. That's...
That could be.
I feel like that would maybe be interesting.
It's an enjoyable game. I know I have not talked to a single dealer that deals that game that enjoys dealing it. Pretty much every dealer, if they've ever dealt it in the past, and the casino they work at no longer has it, if you suggest putting it back into the casino, they suggest physical violence. So. Dealers generally don't like that game because it's dull, it's boring, it just drives them absolutely nuts. So if you do play that game, take care of your dealers because they are dying inside.
You know what? That's a great segue to get into. What's your favorite game to deal?
Craps. That's hands down. However, I will say this: craps is also the only game I deal. I dealt blackjack, but I haven't touched a card in probably 2 years or more. And I'd say I dealt maybe 10 to 15 total shifts worth of blackjack. I don't deal roulette. I know the payouts, or I used to, but me spinning the ball was approximately the same skill level as a 2-year-old trying to swat a bee.
I've seen you spin the ball. It was all right.
Did it make it around more than 3 times?
I believe it did. On one of your hands, you had a pretty decent spin. I think it was your left hand. It was pretty decent.
Then it was my best spin ever. I was taught when I first started dealing. I was taught how to deal Pai Gow and Ultimate Texas, but both of those I only dealt for 20 minutes each. So I am a dice dealer. That's for sure my favorite game to deal. There's a lot of reasons why I prefer that game. I've dealt at places that can have their slow periods. And I work at night, so if I'm working on a Tuesday and it's a Tuesday that's slow for whatever reason, if I'm on blackjack, I am probably at 2 in the morning standing at a table staring off into the ether trying to keep myself awake or just contemplating where my life has led me. At least on the dice table, 1, very rarely is the dice table dead for any length of time, and 2, I've got at least 2 other people to talk to. Plus, with dice and the rotation, you're actually moving every 20 minutes.
Right.
Or if you're at a place like I'm at where we stay on one side of the table instead of going a full circle, 20 minutes in one spot, 40 minutes in the other spot. But I'm moving instead of being stuck standing in one spot for an hour. and I have 2 other people to talk to, and it's a faster moving game. I got to the point at one point where in my head I was just counting hands on blackjack because I knew that I was getting approximately, I can't remember now, but I'd had it worked out where I think I was getting somewhere around 3 hands a minute, or maybe it was higher than that. Oh no, now I remember. I wasn't counting hands, I was counting shuffles. So I got a shuffle, I had to do a shuffle every 4.5 minutes. So when I came down to my table, in my head, I went 13 shuffles. 13 shuffles till my next break. 12 shuffles till my next break. 11 shuffles till my next break. It was just mind-numbingly boring. While dice is just moving. It's just fast moving.
Yeah.
What's your favorite game to deal?
Dice, hands down. Craps, my favorite game to deal. Right now, that's the only game I'm dealing as of right now. I mean, I deal all the other games. I deal probably about close to 10 games, and for a while I really despised baccarat. Oh, it was so boring because the players, listen, if I'm going to be a little bit honest, they can be pretty brutal. But I love dealing Ultimate Texas, and I love dealing craps. Those are my 2 favorite games to deal, hands down. Ultimate Texas, especially with the trips bonus. I've made many tips dealing that game, but it's also just overall fun to deal. Very fun to deal.
It feels like you're playing.
Feels like I'm playing. You see bets up for yourself. You're hoping the players win. It's the same thing on dice.
Which reminds me, before we bring this episode to a close, if you're playing dice and you want to take care of the dealers, you want to tip the dealers, I'll give you this hint. The dealers most enjoy having a bet up there for them, and not a bet that hits once every 30 times. Like if you bet $1 on a 12, it's a 1-roll bet and has a 1 in 36 chance of hitting. The dealers are like, hey, we really appreciate that, but in our heads we're going, we can't really root for that because it's just so incredibly rare. Put us on your odds. Put us on the pass line. Yeah. But I'll tell you our favorite one. Put the dealer across, even if it's just $1 per number, as place bets on the 6 numbers. The dealers across, but say player control. If you don't say player control, the dealer must take their bet down when it wins. We win $1. But if you say player control and then press them, if the 6 hits, make it $2 now instead of letting them collect. The dealers, now we feel like we're part of the action. We feel like we're playing the game. Yeah. Some players will say, make it player control, and then they'll go do whatever you want with it.
Oh man!
Now we can have some fun.
I
turned a $2 bet on the 5 and 9 into 54 across for the dealers during a decent roll, and we ended up dropping almost $300 into our tip box for that.
Pretty solid.
I would have had us even higher if we would have kept on going. So yeah, put us in the game. Put us in the game in a way that we feel like we're playing, and it's so much more fun for the dealers, and they really appreciate that, and they'll help you out as well.
Right.
Thank you very much for watching this episode of Crossfire. Our time is running short. If you have any questions or anything you'd like us to talk about, go ahead and put it in the comments or shoot us an email. Otherwise, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm Jason.
I'm Louie.
See you next time.